I did want to say, what were your initial reactions? So we're gonna go through team by team. We're going with the OG Avengers, right? That were announced here. We'll go with the Fantastic Four. We'll talk Thunderbolts, and we'll talk the X-Men, obviously. But when you finally, I guess as the day was going on, and then when the this final list came out, what was your main takeaway?
Main takeaway? My main takeaway is that they want it to be the highest grossing movie of all time. Like,
Oh,
they're
yeah,
trying to build it up like Endgame. You don't have a teaser like that. Like, this was self-indulgent, without a doubt, but there's a good reason to after what they've already done, what they've accomplished. And I think it's like to what you were saying is that they're trying to build this up to be the cinematic event of the decade, even though it's going to be Secret Wars, but this will be that before Secret Wars. Like, you don't do a teaser like this just to say we're starting production, right? You don't do that except if you're Marvel and this is an Avengers movie, right? So that if you want to say like my first big takeaway, that like my first thought takeaway, that would be it.
yeah. So I see what you're saying. I think it was cocky, overindulgent, probably. Where, hey, like we may have not had hit after hit at the same rate like we had the first 3, 4 phases of the MCU. And but you're gonna bet your ass you're gonna be watching this live stream. Like
Yep.
you have to be there because all of a sudden you get Hemsworth. Oh wait, Tom Hiddleston's here. Oh shit, Loki's back, right? And then you're looking at, oh my god, yeah, Patrick Stewart. He was in the MCU for Multiverse of Madness. Not a surprise, but oh my god, it's Ian McKellen. You know, oh my god, it's James Marsden. Oh my god, it's Alan Cummings as Nightcrawler. Like to me, the big takeaway is the X-Men. The X-Men, and not just Professor X, not just Magneto, right? But to have Rebecca Romaine come back as Mystique, right? My first crush alongside Mary Jane Watson, Kirsten Dunst,
There it
right
is.
there. 1-2 right there. Okay. To have Nightcrawler back, to have Cyclops back, name after name, and then to have one of the GOAT villains in superhero history making his way back. It gets the Secret War vibes where you're going to have not just right heroes, villains, you're going to have people crossing moral lines, and then you have RDJ to anchor it all. But for me, to have the X-Men here, and we knew we needed them for this type of story. We could not wait to establish the X-Men with Feige in the phase after this Secret Wars phase, right? This multiverse saga. You couldn't wait. So you had to bring in the OGs. And they already have a little bit of foundation from the post-credit of the Marvels. Holy shit, we got Beast here. And it's also Kelsey Grammer, dude. The X-Men stole the freaking show.
That's my biggest surprise. The old X-Men, not the Michael Fassbender, McAvoy, newer Fox X-Men. We got the old X-Men. And we've already seen the old X-Men in the MCU. I'm thinking Patrick Stewart in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I'm thinking Kelsey Grammer post-credit scene in the Marvels. So we've already seen hints of this. We saw Logan in Deadpool Wolverine last year. But they bring out those supporting characters. Alan Cunning back as Nightcrawler. You mentioned Rebecca Romaine back as Mystique. And like you have Jennifer Lawrence just sitting there, right? They could have done that. Michael Fassbender's back acting. You could have done that. No, you're bringing in the OGs, right? That is the biggest surprise and the biggest like casting takeaway from this for sure.
Yeah, so we will break it down team by team, but I also wanted to say another huge takeaway is when I see this list finalized, who is actually not going to be in the movie? Who is going to be cut from this movie? Because if we know Marvel, they might do misdirection. They might show something in a trailer, and that scene might not actually be there. This cast, they probably will be on set, but they might say to, let me pull up her name because I don't know it off the top of my head. Hannah John Kamen, who plays Ghost. We were like, hey, well, let's shoot a scene, but we're really not going to have you in the movie, right? And then who's not on this list that will be in the movie because you're missing major names. I think that's like the next thought. That was my thought process after I kind of like digested, like, holy shit, the X-Men are back. That, I mean, which guys here are going to be misdirection? And we can kind of do that as we go through each group, right? I must have gone through your mind too.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, it went through my mind. Because, like you said off the top, we have a lot of characters that will be added to this, no doubt. No doubt. So there's just only 2 hours of screen time, maybe three. And you have to have a core character, core couple protagonists. there will be cuts to this movie. There will be cuts from this list, and we can kind of iron that out here today.
Yeah, I think we could easily do that when we go team by team. I would like to compare the length of this list, this cast, to what Infinity War was. Because I think right now, with the names that were announced today, it pretty much seems like it would be on par with Infinity War. And I think now that they also say that we're going to be adding names to this list potentially, this cast is going to be bigger than Secret Wars. I mean, Infinity War. It's going to be a bigger movie, right? It's going to, I think they're like the aspirations are even higher. And I think honestly, with the Russo brothers back, it's like, okay, we're back to like the Infinity Saga, right? The guys who know how to handle this cast. I honestly don't think there's not many names here that I look at that ride on the latest movies in Marvel or the latest TV shows in Marvel. We have the OG X-Men here, right? We have a few OG iconic Avengers, or at least Avenger actors that are here. The Fantastic Four are here, okay? Not yet appeared. Thunderbolts, right? About to have their movie. Yes, we've seen a couple of these characters every now and then, but then a couple newbies. There's only like a couple newbies that were kind of introduced today. So I don't even think that the lack of success in recent Marvel history will really matter when it comes to the performance of this movie. As long as you got the Russo brothers who have pulled this off on the grandest scale, unlike any other directing pair or director has, I think it's not going to matter as much, to be honest, in terms of lack of success recently.
I'm kind of in the middle of that, what you said there. Because yes, like we have some OGs here. You have your Thor, Chris Hemsworth returning. You have RDJ returning, not as Iron Man. But if you look back to Infinity War, to Endgame, you had your core Avengers there, right? And if you look at this movie, who are your core Avengers? A lot of them we haven't seen yet. If we really are going to be honest, Fantastic Four movie doesn't come out yet, right? Chris Hemsworth is like pretty much the only one. Like Anthony Mackie just had his Captain America movie. He just became Captain America, and that's a TV show where he became Captain America, right? Ant-Man, I don't consider him a core Avenger, but he is obviously a long time MCU, 10 years in the MCU. But other than that, that's pretty much it. That's like, I'm trying to think. Thunderbolts haven't had their movie yet. X-Men OG, it's been 20 years since they've had a movie. So this is pretty new, in my opinion. So I'm kind of in the middle of what you're saying.
Well, the Avengers team is new. This shouldn't even be called Avengers Doomsday. It shouldn't be called Avengers Secret Wars. This is Marvel's Doomsday. This is Marvel's Secret Wars. That's a mistake because let's look at the names that were announced and let's put together the Avenger team based on the names that were given. So right now, Chris Hemsworth, you could say is on the team, but he hasn't been on Earth, right? Since Thor Love and Thunder at the beginning of that movie. Anthony Mackie, also going to be a part of that team. Paul Rudd, probably going to be a part of that team. Winston Duke could be a part of that team. Not really, right? Winston Duke, right, from Wakanda.
No.
But he could be a part of that team. Tenoch Huerta, I would not say is most likely going to be an Avenger. He seems like an independent party. That's how I would describe him. Independent party. We got to talk about him, by the way. The fact that they announced him in the first crop of actors is actually absolutely banana lands. Simu Liu, right? You have Shang-Chi, will be a part of the Avengers. You see the post-credit scene for Shang-Chi. Dani Ramirez, Falcon, will be a part of the Avengers. Letitia Wright seems like she will be a part of the Avengers as the new Black Panther. Those characters do not hold weight at all, except for Chris Hemsworth. But I'm saying this isn't about the Avengers, even though the title is Avengers. It's not.
I agree with that. Avengers just name only, just to carry the box office. Totally agree. I guess like my thing is like Anthony Mackie, A-list hero in Captain America, but is his Captain America A-list? No, doesn't have the juice. Black Panther, is it really Letitia Wright? And if it is, now is an Oscar-nominated movie. Black Panther is now an A-list Marvel MCU hero. Is Letitia Wright? I don't think so. Doesn't have the juice. Paul Rudd, Ant-Man, same thing. I just don't think Ant-Man has the juice, actually. So turn it the other way, where the actor has it, but not the character. So it's just like there's not the right combination of big-time characters and big-time actors all in one, like there was in the previous Avengers films. And that's where these new guys, Fantastic Four, or the old guard, Fox Universe X-Men, have to carry the weight here, unless or until we get these new announcements with a Spider-Man, with maybe a Chris Evans coming back. That's where we're kind of waiting for, right? Because based off this list, there's risk. There's definitely risk.
You know what this also tells me? The main character of this movie will be Doctor Doom. Will
And I
be
love
Robert
that.
Downey Jr.
Like Infinity War.
He will have more screen time in this movie than Brolin had in Infinity War. That's a take I have.
That's a take.
Because they're, like we said, this is Avengers Doomsday. Which Avengers are you going to allot the most screen time to? None seem worthy. You're not going to give it all to Chris Hemsworth, right? He's a great part of the Avengers, but he's not, right, the core of the Avengers. Who was? Tony Stark was, alongside Chris Evans, right? What we're going to have here is Doomsday, a variant most likely of Tony Stark. He is your main character for this movie, and then you have the pieces around him. That is your main character. I think we should break down the teams now.
And
Are you ready?
I'll just like comment on that too, where it's like you have Pedro Pascal's chair next to RDJ's chair. You have the Fantastic Four movie this summer before next summer's Doomsday. You're leading into this movie with the Fantastic Four. We went through the list, and the Fantastic Four are really the only newer A-list and with A-list actors with their arch nemesis in Doctor Doom. They're probably going to be the main protagonists of this movie, not the true Avengers. It's more like going to be Fantastic Four because it's their villain. So I agree with you where Doomsday will have Doom as the main guy, similar to an Infinity War. So who are you going to pair up the guy with the most screen time with? The guy who's his biggest adversary, which is the Fantastic Four. So I think yes to what you're saying. RDJ's Doom's going to have a lot of screen time. But that means the Fantastic Four, probably out of this hero casting that we're going to go through, probably have the most as well on that side.
RDJ, what's he getting paid? $200 million to do this movie?
A lot. And PJs and first class everything.
He is anchoring this thing down. No one else got to show their face in that teaser. Who was? It's RDJ. He is the goddamn star of this movie, dude. It's going to be crazy. Let's break down the teams. And I have the Fantastic Four. I have the X-Men. I have Thunderbolts. And then I have another group called the Noobs that have never been a part of a Avenger movie. Then I have OG and Returning Avengers. Let's talk about the OGs and the Returning Avengers here. We won't talk about every single character, but we'll talk about ones that are the most intriguing, that maybe ones that we're most excited to see, or we think that will have a key part in the story. We already talked about RDJ. RDJ's returning, right? Guy, center of the MCU, kickstarted the MCU. We're going to see him go from its greatest hero, its anchor being, to its greatest foe. So RDJ's back. Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Anthony Mackie as Captain America. Paul Rudd as Ant-Man. And then someone in this category. Someone's been in Avenger movies before and will be in this one. Winston Duke as M'Baku from Wakanda. So I wouldn't consider like an Avenger necessarily or an OG. That's more like Hemsworth, RDJ. Hiddleston's not an OG Avenger, but he's an OG character. So phase one, that's what we're talking about. Ricky Flex, what stuck out the most when you looked at this category?
We got Chris Hemsworth as our first still that came out. First name, first character. Obviously the longest tenured hero left in the MCU. If you really think about it, because you had Incredible Hulk movie, Iron Man movie, Captain America First Avenger / Thor, right? And Chris Evans is gone. RDJ's Iron Man is gone. And obviously Ed Norton's Hulk was not on this list. So who do you start this off with? Who's the first chair? It's Chris Hemsworth, the most powerful Avenger, Thor. That's interesting. That was my biggest takeaway here. Also, I just wanted to add Letitia Wright. Technically, if you have Winston Duke here, Letitia Wright should be here, right?
Yes. Yeah, but she wasn't Black Panther. That's why I didn't put her there.
Right. But she was an OG like in the movie.
She was in it, but like M'Baku was fighting. Letitia Wright it's not Black Panther. You know, she's just Shuri. I felt like she's a different.
Will she be Black Panther? I guess
like,
another
M'Baku
takeaway.
Is like I was just saying, M'Baku is the same character he was. Really, he's just funnier. And Shuri is literally Black Panther now.
Okay, I feel like I guess like that's that. So that leads into what I was gonna say. Will she be Black Panther? I'm not confident she's gonna be Black Panther.
This goes into another thing I was going to talk about. Because I think this list that they announced was reactionary to the concept images that was leaked for Doomsday. I really do. because the people that were in those concept images, first off, I don't think they would have announced who the new Black Panther was at this point. It would be the second batch, or you would be surprised because there were images of a Black Panther that was a male and not Shuri in that concept art that was leaked. But also, who was in that concept art? Star-Lord. He was in that concept art, right? Who else is in that one? The Young Avengers, also in that concept art. Hulk and She-Hulk and Scar, all a part of that concept art. So I think this was this list was kind of reactionary to that concept art that was leaked. It can't be a coincidence that those names are not showing up here, right? And then you had the Russo brothers saying, that's not our art. That's not our art. I'm like, we're pretty sure that's your goddamn art. You know, that's from your movie. But I think that was totally reactionary. But sorry to hijack that there.
No, that was like one of the two things I was going to say. I totally agree with you. And I just want to call out Discussing Film for a second because they said Letitia Wright is returning as Black Panther. They said that in a tweet.
They don't know for sure. That's the thing.
So they can't be right in that. Like
They're presuming.
Yeah, they can't be assuming that whatsoever after the events of Wakanda Forever. And them to say that off a name on a casting chair and a teaser for saying Avengers Doomsday is in production is absurd if you watched Wakanda Forever. Just assume that.
I would have loved if they had a couple actors, like just for misdirection, that have never played a Marvel hero. It's like you just go past Pedro Pascal's chair, and the next one's like John Turturro. What the fuck?
That would have been great if they did like a random ass like new person in the MCU. Like, who's they playing? That would get the juices juices flowing.
Yes. You start putting names out there that they'll be appearing. Yeah, 100%. That would have been good. But yeah, I agree. Those news outlets, they are taking some liberties because they're not saying which characters they are playing. They're not saying that, you know.
Like that's saying like, oh, RDJ's playing Iron Man. Like we can't be like, you know, it can't just go out on the limb.
Yeah, we don't know. I think the biggest thing for this category is having Thor and Loki back together. We had not seen them together since the opening of Infinity War. I guess technically you could say the first episode of Loki season 1. But my thing here, when I'm looking at Loki, I'm thinking about the end of season 2 of Loki, for spoiler alert, where he's holding all these branch timelines together. Is it a situation where like something happens with those branches? Is it something that they start dying off again? He's not able to hold all these branches and then he has to go back? Or is it a variant of Loki then connecting with Thor, or a Thor variant connecting with a new like Loki variant? This is the thing where I want there to be continuity with what we already know about the characters. I don't want to see a bunch of new variants that I don't have a relationship to, that I only know by their face and the actor. I want like their experiences. I want like the 616 Thor and the 616 Loki. I want those two to interact once again. I don't necessarily want two randoms and just saying, oh, Thor and Loki are back together, because it's not necessarily true. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. This casting list affirms, and specifically Loki, affirms my suspicions or my nerves of too many variants. I don't know how you bring back Loki in the timelines, TVA and whatnot. You already did it for Deadpool and Wolverine in a variant type of way. This is interesting. And I don't want to jump ahead, so I'll just say it quickly. You have the old X-Men here, but then you have Channing Tatum's Gambit here. And then it's just, there's a lot of like variant problems already. And I know I have faith in the Russo brothers to clean it up in the MCU. But there are like some nerves that I have with the whole variant issue with where the MCU is going. And like Kelsey Grammer was already in a post-credit scene. And Patrick Stewart died already.
I think the X-Men, we'll get to it when we talk about the X-Men. I don't want to jump yet. But Tom Hiddleston, that got my juices going a little bit. When I saw his name was on there, I'm like, yes, that's a guy I want back. That's someone that has earned more screen time following like the success of their television show. He already was one of the great comic book villains that we've ever seen on the big screen. He was a villain in the first goddamn Avenger movie. To have him come back, I freaking love that. And Tom Hiddleston owns that character. And like we talk about it where some of these guys like RDJ owns Iron Man, Chris Evans owns Captain America. We talk about Charlie Cox owning Daredevil. I think Tom Hiddleston owns Loki. He just owns that character. We want to see him back. That was the one I was most excited for. Next crew here. I don't have much to talk about the Fantastic Four. We got Fantastic Four's First Steps coming out July 25th. We cannot wait for that movie. We all knew they were going to be in this one. So I think we just move on to the one that I was most jacked up about, and I think you were too. The X-Men that were introduced here. I'm going to go through the list one time for those who maybe don't recall or didn't see the announcement and somehow you live underneath a rock. But Ian McKellen is back as Magneto. Kelsey Grammer is back as Beast from X-Men The Last Stand. James Marsden is back as Cyclops. Channing Tatum is Gambit, is returning from Deadpool and Wolverine. Rebecca Romaine as Mystique from Bryan Singer's X-Men. Patrick Stewart as Professor X. Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler. Ricky, which one of these got you the most excited?
Ian McKellen's Magneto.
I got chills. I literally got goosebumps when I saw that. I'm like, holy shoot! Holy Nikes. They got McKellen, and and the thing is, Patrick Stewart, Professor X. Professor X is a good character, but Magneto's a great character, And we already saw Patrick Stewart after Logan. We saw him in Multiverse of Madness. We also, I believe, heard his voice or maybe even saw him in the post-credit for the Marvels. So you knew that there's a good chance we're going to see him again. It wasn't all that shocking. But to have Ian McKellen in his 80s come back as Magneto, that's the one that made me think this announcement is now worth it. This wait for the names is now worth it. And now here come the OG X-Men that we've always wanted to see interact with Avengers. This was so juicy. McKellen, cannot wait to see him.
Yeah, and McKellen, with all the Lord of the Rings news that's come out, he's famously said he'll come back for money. Oh, welcome to the MCU, Sir Ian. So yeah, that and just imagine him against Doom, Magneto versus Doom. That's box office. I would
That's what Secret Wars is all about.
Yeah, feed it to me. Feed it to me. I low key wish it was Fassbender, but Sir Ian is the OG. So
RDJ versus Fassbender.
RDJ versus Fassbender would have been electric, but this makes sense.
Magneto might be a guy who sees Doom's perspective, though. That's the thing. It's all about maybe he's I don't know, maybe what Doom is trying to do is most logical, and Magneto thinks or whatever that one group is. I don't know what Magneto will think, but I'm just saying, what if he just takes?
He's understanding to both sides. He sees both sides, but he will take a side.
I don't think he's understanding of both sides. He sees his way, and everywhere else is the wrong way.
Yeah, but going through this list, I guess we got to mention Kelsey Grammer as Beast. Confirms the Marvels, so probably that's where all these OG X-Men are from, right? So we'll probably see Patrick Stewart not in the yellow chair. We'll probably see him in the Patrick Stewart chair from the original trilogy, right? I don't know if you agree with me on that or not.
So if Patrick Stewart's, I think it's going to be from the Marvels universe. I think all these characters are going to be from the Marvels universe except for Gambit, personally.
Right. So you think though that all these characters will be how they were in the Fox universe, not how they adjusted it in Multiverse of Madness for Patrick Stewart and the yellow chair.
Because they haven't really said what world that is that they're on, that was in the Marvels. I assume it's not the exact Bryan Singer universe. I just assume every character is going to play it the same exact way, and they're all going to be from a different universe. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. I don't love that because it's not truly the Fox universe. The Fox universe is dead. I think that it's just going to be a separate universe. Then the characters are going to play it the exact same way they did 20 years ago.
Interesting. I definitely agree with that. And then that leads me to James Marsden. This was a shocker to me. I honestly was arguably more shocked I saw his name than Sir Ian McKellen's. Just because of everything that's gone on with James Marsden, I didn't know if they were going to risk it.
I thought they were going to do it. I thought when they said Ian McKellen, and then I think it was Marsden, and then they did Rebecca Romaine and Alan Cumming. you know, or Alan Cumming might have came before James Marsden.
I thought he did, yes.
And so that's when I knew, like, okay, we're gonna get Cyclops. We have freaking Nightcrawler in this that we haven't seen since X2, and I think that means we have to have James Marsden coming back.
Yeah, but like, there's so many characters, like, and the cast is so big. I understand, like, James Marsden could just slip under the radar here, and he's wearing, like, he's Cyclops. He's got the glasses, so he doesn't have to be James Marsden. But I did think, like,
You could give them
Marvel isn't
comic
Disney.
accurate suits now. All of them that never had them.
So that's where I was saying before, like, I think if they're gonna play it like they did, they're gonna keep it like it was. Like,
No,
they're gonna
no,
have back to the old
oh
suits, the same exact suits.
no, I won't do that. They're from that universe. They're going to be the Marvels. This is the MCU.
But what if
You
that
can't be wearing black
universe
leather.
was also the other universe? That I'm saying.
I don't think it was. I just don't think the Marvels universe was, because we have a different looking Beast. Like, Beast does not look the same as X-Men: The Last Stand.
Definitely, yeah. I just didn't know if that's MCU new CGI and whatnot, but
Eh,
I understand what you're saying. But yeah, and then the last thing is Gambit here.
Gambit, I was unexpecting to see him so soon after Deadpool and Wolverine. We didn't get announced Ryan Reynolds or Hugh Jackman, and the first one announced from that movie, $1 billion movie from less than a calendar year ago, is Gambit, Channing Tatum. And I think he might have a very similar look to what he had in Deadpool and Wolverine, because he looked pretty comic accurate. You know, is his performance going to change? Is he going to, like, not ham it up as much, a little, as he did in Deadpool and Wolverine? I think he'll tone it back a tiny bit. But does that mean, like, Rogue? Do we not get a Rogue then if we have Gambit?
That's the question. I think also another takeaway with this huge cast is I don't know if all of them are even going to have a line.
Oh, I think the X-Men will, but
Gambit too, though.
what I really like about this list of X-Men characters, they are the best parts of the Bryan Singer universe. Like, every one here, Magneto, one of the best comic book villains. Kelsey Grammer was a huge, like, get for Beast in X-Men: The Last Stand. One of the best parts about it. Brought a regalness to Beast. Amazing. James Marsden held it down. Great going one-on-one against Hugh Jackman. This tells me Hugh Jackman's going to be in the movie,
Underrated
because
Cyclops.
you need to have a "you're a dick" line from Hugh Jackman to James Marsden, or James Marsden to Hugh Jackman. Rebecca Romaine, once again, I told you, just absolute dynamite on screen as Mystique. Just, like, can't miss.
It's been
But
20 years. We're going to see.
But like Alan Cumming, you only got him in X2, one of the best characters and one of the best, like, subplots in X2. The best parts you get. And the other parts that aren't as great, who knows if they bring back Storm? Who knows if they bring Halle Berry into the fold here? Because Storm, I think people kind of have a very polarizing love-hate type of relationship with Storm. People love the character. Do people love, like, that character, how it was portrayed, how it was written? I don't necessarily think so. But the names they listed here, these are people that are, like, the best parts of X-Men. So I kind of love, that's another thing that made the list kind of special to me.
Yeah, like, it definitely like that, but you're still missing two huge Omega level mutants in Storm and Jean Grey. So, like, that, like, massive, right? Characters,
Famke Janssen might be in the second batch here.
maybe. Or they're saving them for Secret Wars.
Okay. Yes. Or Secret Wars. Could be that too.
Yeah. And my final takeaway with the X-Men here is that, okay, so we're bringing back OG X-Men, but Kevin Feige, again, has said he wants to make sure the new X-Men get off on the right path. So I think this kind of confirms that we will get a new X-Men. Like, this will, like, Doomsday and Secret Wars would be like a passing of the torch to post Secret Wars X-Men kind of leading the MCU with the Fantastic Four, perhaps.
I love how Deadpool and Wolverine just had a movie about the death of the Fox Marvel Universe, literally a funeral for it in the post credit. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different members of the Bryan Singer, like, Fox universe coming to Avengers Doomsday. It's just that's hilarious to me.
Yeah, it's like perfect timing, and you don't bring up Deadpool or Wolverine. I didn't even say Wolverine.
I think Channing Tatum's going to be able to play this the way he wants to, though. Now I'm thinking about it. Like, he's going to be the Gambit that he always was destined to be, not the joke of a Gambit we got in Deadpool Wolverine. He probably thought like, I have to play it this way in Deadpool Wolverine. Like we've seen Thor change, dude. Like Thor went from right Shakespearean from Thor and Thor the Dark World to what we got in Thor Ragnarok. I think you could see something almost like flip for Channing Tatum.
I hope so. Because like I don't like how like I just don't want them to treat it like a joke. Like I saw something on the internet today or yesterday. It was a clip from Thor: Love and Thunder, and
That's been
the
making the rounds.
and a quote tweet from it was like, "I swear to God, Taika Waititi bombed Thor: Love and Thunder on purpose because he was mad that they rewrote Thor in Infinity War to change his whole character's arc. It gave him back his eye, like they changed everything, you know. And then like obviously you have Endgame, like it just ruined it ruined what Taika wanted to do. So then he was like, "F these guys." Thor: Love and Thunder is going to be a complete satire of a movie, a complete joke. That was funny. I hope that with Gambit here, they don't treat it like the Deadpool and Wolverine Gambit because that worked out well for that movie. But in this movie, this will not be a Deadpool Wolverine type of movie. This is high level Infinity War Endgame seriousness. I need real Gambit.
High stakes.
High stakes.
High stakes. That's why Deadpool. I don't know if Deadpool could fit in this movie. And we'll talk about like whether he gets announced for this one or Secret Wars. I think I have a hard time imagining him just fitting into the movie. He is someone that has to pop in for 10 minutes and then leave the movie. He cannot be in the entire movie. But that's it for the X-Men. Let's move on. Let's talk Thunderbolts here. Thunderbolts I found fascinating to dissect because this movie has not come out yet. The Thunderbolts movie ahead of Doomsday, and you basically have every Thunderbolt team member on this casting list except for Taskmaster. Poor Taskmaster. God damn it. And I don't think Taskmaster will be on the second list either for Doomsday. This is a list I'm also targeting because not everyone on this list will be in the movie. I think all the X-Men, they will be in the movie. All the OGs and returning Avengers, they will be in the movie. Thunderbolts, it's where I think we could get some misdirection. We have names on chairs to try and preserve the upcoming Thunderbolts film. I think there are people that are earmarked to bite the frickin' dust before Doomsday even comes out.
They're trying to promote Thunderbolts. Oh, these characters that in the movie that's coming out in a couple months, they're important to the future of the MCU. They're going to be in a movie that potentially is going to break the box office and be number one. You have to go see Thunderbolts. I'm sorry, Thunderbolts fans, but no, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have to see this movie to see Avengers Doomsday. Not all these characters will be there. I don't think this necessarily means that Taskmaster is going to die in Thunderbolts because they might pull a 180 and say, nope, Ghost, you're dead. This was just a MCU trick here, tease. But I'm just saying, like, this is clearly this is just a, hey, go see our other movie promotion casting of this list.
The only actor I did not know immediately when I saw their name was Hannah John Kamen.
Yes.
The only one.
I had to look her up.
Know. And I assumed it was Ghost, and I was right because no one remembers Ghost. And I think a huge part of the Thunderbolts, it has a Suicide Squad feel, the expendable hero type of feel. And people have been making jokes about Taskmaster. This is just piling on. This is fucking piling on. I feel so bad for this actor, Olga something. And I should feel bad that I just couldn't even remember her last name.
Hey, at least you knew her first name. Like, I didn't even know Ghost's actor's first name.
You don't forget someone whose name's Olga.
You don't. That is true. Good point.
I think when you look at the Thunderbolts names here, Pugh, Stan, Russell, Harbor, John Kamen, and Pullman, there are like three, I think, that are guaranteed to be in the movie. Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan, and Louis Pullman, I think, will be in this Doomsday. Wyatt Russell, very high likelihood that he'll be in the movie. Could I see Wyatt Russell, being the hero, kind of maybe making the ultimate sacrifice potentially, but I think you kind of want him to face Chris Evans when he gets announced for this movie. Like, that's juicy. They have like John Walker against like the first Captain America, the guy who couldn't like handle the shield, right? Following Chris Evans. That would be interesting, but I think he'll be here. But David Harbour, he is like involved with DC. He's with Marvel. he is someone that
Stranger
it
Things.
seems also earmarked. I think will have a heavy emotional loss in Thunderbolts. Like he barely can fit in his goddamn suit. He's gonna be fighting Doctor Doom, dude. No way. I think David Harbour. That's a huge name. It'll get people. Right? It's so like get people to go watch Thunderbolts. Having his name here will get people excited. I think he's biting the dust most likely, and he won't be in this movie.
Yeah, I agree. Like Florence Pugh is definitely the leader in the clubhouse, and we saw her in the AI photos. The whatever the photos were.
The concept art.
Concept art. Thank you. Next to Doom, medieval Doom. So just got to remember that. But yeah, Bucky has to be in this just because Sebastian Stan, and Bucky's Bucky. He's big enough. He's cinematic enough. But the others, it's either we haven't seen them before or they're not cinematic enough. I love Wyatt Russell. I still have a lot of stock in him. And I like the US agent character. And I think what you said would be cool, but not enough juice. He's a TV show character. And I'm sorry, but that's why Anthony Mackie's Captain America still doesn't work. It still doesn't work. So just not enough juice for me. You can't write him having a huge part. That's why he's easily cuttable. You could have him on this list, shoot a couple scenes with him, but you could easily cut him. Same with David Harbour. Same with Hannah John Kamen, Ghost. And honestly, same with Lewis Pullman Sentry, even though Sentry, I think, is going to be a sick character.
He's too powerful. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Ghost, you don't need. David Harbour is an aging super soldier that can't fit into a suit. Wyatt Russell's a human. You know, you don't need Wyatt Russell here. Wyatt Russell's kind of out of place. It kind of makes you think like, well, if Wyatt Russell's here, we should have like Daredevil here. You know, and I'm not sure Daredevil's in this movie. Wyatt Russell could be cut, but maybe they want to make him a bigger focal point going to the future of the MCU. A lot of these are nostalgia plays. All the X-Men are nostalgia plays. The OG Avengers will not be around. Like Chris Hemsworth probably won't be around after this movie. Who knows how long the other like Anthony Mackie and like whoever is going to show up in this movie. If Jeremy Renner and Hulk does, like you kind of have to build more people to like in the MCU that aren't as, rooted in the MCU. So, yeah, Wyatt Russell, I'm going to say he's in the movie. David Harbour's not in the movie. Hannah John Kamen, not in the movie. Lewis Pullman definitely is in the movie. He is too freaking powerful, and I think he's going to be a formidable force after Thunderbolts. Okay. Last group here, before we get to the people that were snubbed, the newbies. This is the noobs in terms of Avenger movies. Tenoch Huerta, who is Namor. Tenoch Huerta had some really murky type of behavior off screen, off set. He was something that might have been like sexual assault, like he was getting wrapped up with. We could look that up to be more specific here, but Tenoch Huerta is back as Namor following his appearance in Wakanda Forever. Simu Liu will be back following his debut appearance in Shang-Chi. We've not seen him since in 2021. And then Danny Ramirez, we just saw him in Falcon the Winter Soldier. He'll be back. Those are your three noobs. And then you can add Letitia Wright is coming back as Black Panther from her last performance in Wakanda Forever as well. But Letitia Wright, Shuri, we've known before. So, Ricky, my big thing was Tenoch Huerta. I think he is the best like character out of these four. Like Namor versus Shang-Chi versus Falcon versus like Black Panther, but isn't T'Challa. It's Shuri. I think Tenoch Huerta is the most powerful character, but I was surprised to see his name, here because of the off the field issues.
So you're surprised to see him, but not James Marsden's.
No. I was not surprised to see James Marsden once I saw a couple X-Men from Bryan Singer's X-Men show up.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say this. I was surprised to see Tenoch Huerta just in general, because that's like because I know Namor is a big time Marvel character, but I was like I kind of forgot about him. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then like I was like, oh, sexual assault allegations. He's denied them. I'm just saying it's back in like 2023. I want to say though. So it's been a while. I don't know if there's been an update on that, but when I saw that name, I was like, Namor's in this. So we have freaking Doom. We have Magneto. We have Namor. Who knows who else we're gonna add as like big time Marvel villains that are gonna be added to this cast? but that's a pretty good start.
Yeah. I did want to also bring up the Tena Huerta thing because June 2023, where Huerta was accused of abuse by musician and activist Maria Elena Rios. Rios accused him of being a sexual predator and that the Mexico-based activist organization Poder Prieto was deliberately protecting him. Wow, like the cartel for actors. You know what is going on there? But
What is this, like what is it? Babylon.
yes, but what I also was thinking, we just talked about this movie last episode, Magazine Dreams. An actor who's trying to get back with Marvel is Jonathan Majors.
Oh.
He recently wrote a letter to Kevin Feige and said that he was thankful for his time. He loves Marvel. He loves Kevin Feige. He hopes that he has an opportunity to once again work with Marvel and play the Kang character that he adores. And he looks at it as an amazing opportunity with all the different variants of the character and how you can do something that no other comic book villain has ever done, you know? By Tena Huerta, like showing up here, I think Jonathan Majors will be in Secret Wars.
Secret Wars.
Not Doomsday. I think he will be in Secret Wars. And I think that is, he's not the main villain. You can have him in a smaller role. If you're already bringing back Tena Huerta, remember, like James Gunn was was fired from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 for bad tweets. Not even arrested, just bad tweets. And they brought him back. I get it. Tena Huerta wasn't arrested, but it seems like some very sketchy, circumstances around
Bad
this
allegation.
whole situation. Bad allegations. And then Majors was arrested. Okay. So that might be the major difference. But I think time will pass. If I think people are already like wondering if or want, I guess, Majors to return. I feel like wait another year and then have him in the cast for Secret Wars. He doesn't have to be like the Kang that was centered to this universe initially, but he could be in the movie. And I think he would add, right? It'd be a great piece to it.
So I was thinking the same thing, where like Doomsday's still too close, but maybe Secret Wars. And Kang is such a huge character. I think they might need it for Secret Wars. And just because you're using a lot in the tank here. You're emptying a lot of the clip here, And to carry over a Tena Huerta and a Magneto, Sir Ian McKellen, who's literally in his 80s, over 2 movies, that's a lot. Especially because he's not an MCU character. I think Kang is one of those characters you can do that, but you're not, obviously. My only problem is Secret Wars, let's say it comes out in 2028. When you look at Jonathan Majors, when he's on screen, the first thing you think of, like in Magazine Dreams in your review the other day, you were like, you thought of the allegations or the guilty. You was proven guilty.
It was also the character he was playing didn't help.
Yes, yeah. But like whenever this comes out, Secret Wars comes out, 2027 or 8, is that what you're going to be thinking? I think I'm going to be, but I'm also like locked in on movie news. Will the normal Marvel fan be like, that's Jonathan Majors' sexual assault? He choked out his girlfriend.
I don't think so, man. There's so many characters in this. It's easy to, I don't know. There's so many characters in this. And I did with Tena Huerta. And like no one even remembers his freaking name. Like except for people who like movies.
Yeah.
We just know Namor. So I think in another year, Kevin Feige has shown that he's willing to forgive people, right? Disney has been shown they're willing to forgive people. RDJ is the greatest success story in the history of Hollywood, dude. The comeback story, rehabilitation. Why, be the Bill Belichick, be the freaking Patriots, right? Get Randy Moss back. Get Randy Moss. That's what you have here.
I just feel like this is more of a Greg Hardy.
Oh my God, that's extreme, dude. Greg Hardy was throwing girls on the fucking bed with guns on them.
Okay,
I don't think
okay,
Jonathan
yes.
Majors doing that, dude. Hopefully not. Jesus Christ. Greg Hardy, that guy was a psycho. And then to hear that he was doing UFC was crazy.